You think this is over? My daughter-in-law's words were ice, slicing through the chaos of her arrest. Her hands, cuffed behind her back, were the only things not perfectly composed. She looked directly at me, a cold, calculated smile playing on her lips. You don't know the half of it. Ask your son about the insurance policy. Ask him who's been paying the premiums. She leaned in, her voice a venomous whisper for only me and the agent to hear. Ask him what happens if you have an accident. My blood ran cold. The clinking of handcuffs was supposed to be the sound of victory. Instead, it felt like a warning. How did it come to this? Just a few years ago, I was happy. I was generous. And I was so stupid. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how I ended up with the FBI in the restaurant I bought, you need to know where it all started. And trust me, you won't believe how blind I was. My life used to be simple, and it smelled like coffee and bacon. For 45 years, I ran a little family diner in Brunswick, Maine. It was my heart, my soul, and after my husband passed, it was my survival. When I finally sold it, I was 70 years old, with a nest egg of $300,000 and a son, Callahan, who had a dream. Cal was a chef, not just a good one, a brilliant one. His passion for food was the one thing that truly made his eyes light up. His wife, Delaney, seemed like the perfect match for his creative spirit. She was organized, business savvy, and always talking about branding and market positioning, words that sounded foreign to me but seemed important. I saw a future for them, for my grandchildren, Ember and Asher. A legacy. So I made a decision. I took my entire inheritance, every penny from those 45 years of 16-hour days, and bought them Belmore Bistro in Portland's Old Port. I'll never forget the day I handed Cal the keys. His hands, usually so steady with a chef's knife, shook with pure joy. He hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "Mum, you didn't have to," he'd whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I know," I'd said, my own tears blurring his face. "But I wanted this for you." I didn't know then that my love was the weapon she would use against me. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October, about a year after the bistro opened. Business was good, but Delaney had bigger plans. She sat me down at one of the bistro's polished oak tables, a stack of papers neatly squared between us. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, making the dust motes dance. It felt peaceful, deceptively so. "Marguerite," she began, her voice smooth as honey. "Cal and I were talking to our accountant. For tax purposes, it would be much smarter to restructure the ownership. It's just a formality to protect the business as we grow." She slid a document across the table. My son, Cal, stood behind her, nodding in agreement. "It's a good idea, Mum. Just cleans things up on paper." I looked at the document. It was full of legal jargon I didn't understand. But I saw my son's hopeful face, and I saw Delaney's encouraging smile. I trusted them. Why wouldn't I? This was the family I had built, the dream I had funded. A little voice in the back of my head, one that sounded a lot like my late husband, whispered, "Read the fine print, Maggie." But I ignored it. I didn't want to be the difficult, suspicious mother-in-law. I signed the papers that afternoon. I thought I was helping my son build a future. I didn't know I was signing away my own. What happened next? It started slow. So slow I didn't notice until it was too late. What happened next destroyed me. But before I tell you, I need you to understand something. If you think what my daughter-in-law did was wrong, hit that subscribe button right now. If you believe mothers deserve respect, smash that like button. Because what I'm about to tell you, It gets so much worse. And I need you on my side for what comes next. Drop a comment if you've ever been betrayed by family. I want to hear your story. Because misery loves company. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll understand why I did what I did. The first cracks in the foundation were small. It started with the menu. My concept for Belmore Bistro was upscale comfort food, a nod to our family diner. But Delaney had other ideas. "We're redecorating," she announced one morning, walking past me like I was a piece of furniture she didn't like. "Your floral wallpaper is dated." She wrinkled her nose. Dated. The wallpaper I'd chosen to make the place feel warm, like home. Then it was my recipes. "Marguerite, these vintage recipes are sweet, but they aren't on trend," she said during a staff meeting, holding up my handwritten card for shepherd's pie. She said vintage like it was a disease. My carefully planned family-style Sunday brunches were replaced with elevated small plates that cost twice as much and fed half as many people. My son stood right beside her, silent. He wouldn't meet my eyes. That silence? It was the loudest sound in the room. He was choosing her, one small plate at a time. I wanted to say something. I should have said something. But she was my son's wife, and I didn't want to cause problems. I didn't want to be the monster-in-law from the movies. Tell me in the comments, was I wrong to stay quiet? Would you have spoken up? Or would you have done what I did and swallowed your pride, hoping it would get better? I thought that was the worst of it. Small disrespects I could handle. Little comments I could ignore. I was wrong. So wrong. Because what she did next crossed a line I didn't even know existed. The cruelty became more overt. It wasn't just about the restaurant anymore. It was about erasing me from the family. The first time I noticed my things disappearing, I thought I was losing my mind. A small photo of my late husband that I kept on the bistro's office desk was suddenly gone. "Oh, it must have gotten misplaced during cleaning," Delaney said, not even looking up from her phone. Then my mother's china, which I'd brought in for special events, vanished. "It didn't match the new aesthetic," was the cold explanation. The real daggers were my grandchildren, Ember and Asher. Visits became supervised, then scarce. One day, I overheard Delaney coaching my 8-year-old granddaughter. "Tell Grandma we can't come over because her apartment is too cluttered. It's not safe for Asher's asthma." My apartment was spotless. It was a lie designed to hurt, to isolate. And it worked. I remembered the night I'd sold my late husband's anniversary ring. Not my wedding band. The big, beautiful one he'd saved up for years to buy me. I'd taken it to the jeweler without telling anyone. $10,000. I'd given it to Cal and Delaney for an emergency equipment upgrade the bistro supposedly needed. "Mom, you didn't have to," Cal had said, hugging me. "I know," I'd whispered. "But I wanted you to succeed." Now, as I stood in the bistro, my bistro, watching his wife effectively call me a liar to my own granddaughter, I wondered if he even remembered, if he cared, if any of it mattered. They wanted me weak. They got me patient. There's a difference. But I didn't know the worst was yet to come. What I discovered next, what she'd been hiding, it would change everything. And it would finally give me the proof I needed. My world shrank. At 70, with no savings and only social security, I was facing poverty. The $300,000 was gone. So was the additional $35,000 I'd loaned them over the last year for a broken freezer, a staffing shortage, a new point-of-sale system. My retirement was a ghost. I stopped eating, lost 23 pounds in 6 weeks. Neighbors started whispering. Friends from my church group avoided eye contact, believing Delaney's carefully planted rumors that I was becoming controlling and confused. Every morning, I woke up in my small apartment. Every morning, I looked at the empty walls where family photos used to hang. Every morning, I wondered how much longer I could do this. Every morning, I asked myself, when did I stop being a mother and become a burden? One person saw the truth. Bridger Walsh, the restaurant's seafood supplier. He was a gruff, honest man who'd known me for 30 years. He found me one morning behind the bistro, staring into space. "Maggie, you all right?" he asked, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I couldn't answer. "This ain't right, what they're doing to you," he said firmly. "You built this place. Don't you let them forget it." Abused. The word felt foreign. Abuse was hitting, yelling. This was just family, wasn't it? "I'm fine," I whispered. Bridger shook his head. "When you're ready to stop being fine, you call me." He handed me his card. I tucked it in my pocket, not knowing that in 2 weeks that card would save my life. Maybe you've been here? In a situation where you know something's wrong, but you can't quite name it. Where you make excuses because the truth is too painful. Please hear me. It doesn't get better by staying quiet. It gets worse. I'm not proud of how long I stayed quiet. How much I took. If you're judging me, I get it. I judged myself too. Drop a comment if you've ever stayed too long in a bad situation. Let's stop pretending we're all perfect. Then something happened that would shatter my denial forever. A certified letter arrived. It was from the City Business Registry. It was a confirmation notice. A confirmation that my name had been officially and completely removed from the ownership of Belmore Bistro 2 weeks after I signed those tax papers. It never had been my restaurant, not legally. She'd been planning this from the beginning. The confirmation letter was a slap, but the phone call was a seismic shock. It was Bridger. His voice was urgent. "Maggie, you need to see something. Meet me at my office. Now." In his cramped, fish-scented office, he laid out a stack of invoices. While tracking down a late payment from Delaney, he'd stumbled upon something impossible. Delaney was invoicing clients through a shell company called Ashford Hospitality Group. The service? Restaurant consulting. The clients? 12 families who thought they were buying franchise rights to Belmore Bistro. They had paid between $15,000 and $40,000 each for the opportunity to open their own location. Total, $273,000. There were no franchises, no legal agreements, just fake contracts using my restaurant's name and photos. This wasn't a family dispute. This was wire fraud. Federal wire fraud. My knees went weak. She wasn't just pushing me out. She was using my legacy, my family's name, to commit federal crimes. And my son. Did he know? Was he part of this? Or was he just another one of her victims? The answer came when my new lawyer, Adelaide Thorne, subpoenaed the bistro's financial records. She found $58,000 in transfers to Delaney's shell company, labeled marketing expenses. And at the bottom of each transfer authorization was a signature. My son's signature. He knew. Maybe not about the franchise scam, but he knew she was siphoning money. He'd helped her push me out because he wanted independence. My own son. My baby boy. He had chosen her betrayal willingly. They didn't break my heart. They revealed I never had theirs. Now I know what some of you are thinking. It's just money. Forgive and move on. Family is family. But tell me this. When does family become monsters? When is enough enough? Drop your answer below because I need to know I'm not crazy for what I did next. I took photos of everything, every fake invoice, every fraudulent transfer, every lie. And then I made a phone call that would destroy them. Was it revenge? Maybe. Was it justice? Absolutely. Because what I had planned, they would never see coming. The final straw wasn't the fraud. It was smaller, more personal. It was my grandson Asher's 5th birthday. They had the party at the bistro. I showed up with a gift, a little red truck he'd been wanting for months. When Asher ran to hug me, Delaney physically stepped between us. "We're not doing gifts right now, Marguerite," she said, her voice loud enough for other parents to hear. "We're trying to teach the kids about minimalism." She smiled, a fake, sugary smile. "You can leave it at the door." Leave it at the door. Like I was a delivery driver, not his grandmother. My son saw the whole thing. He looked at me, then at the floor. He said nothing. Something inside me broke. Not the sad kind of breaking, the kind that clears away fear and leaves behind steel. That night, I called Bridger. Then I called his lawyer, Adelaide Thorne. Then I made a list. By midnight, I wasn't crying anymore. I was planning. And let me tell you something about underestimated old women. We have patience, resources, and absolutely nothing left to lose. I stopped showing up at the bistro. When my son called, I didn't answer. When Delaney texted, "Are you sulking?" I smiled. Actually smiled. She thought I was sulking. She should have been scared. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the stakes. You probably think you know what happened next. Everyone does. You're probably expecting a dramatic courtroom scene or a big confrontation. But what I did was so much smarter. Drop your prediction in the comments. Let's see if anyone gets close. The Restaurant Expo in Boston was in 6 days. Delaney planned to sell 3 more fake franchises there. That was our deadline. The FBI couldn't get a warrant on suspicion alone. They needed more. They needed evidence I could legally obtain, and I knew exactly how to get it. Adelaide Thorne was a shark in a pantsuit. "Marguerite," she said, spreading papers across her desk. "Your signature on those ownership papers was obtained under false pretenses. That's fraud. The siphoned money is embezzlement. And the franchise scheme, that's the big one. That's federal." The plan was simple. Delaney kept all her Ashford hospitality files on a personal laptop she sometimes left at the bistro office. The office I still technically had a key for. Bridger agreed to create a diversion. He called Delaney with a fake emergency about a contaminated oyster shipment that needed her immediate attention at the docks. It was a 45-minute drive each way. That gave me a 90-minute window. That night, my hands trembled as I unlocked the bistro's back door. It felt wrong, sneaking into a place that should have been mine. The restaurant was dark and silent. Her laptop was on the desk, open. My heart pounded. I plugged in the flash drive Adelaide had given me. File after file copied over. Contracts, emails with victims, bank transfers. Suddenly, I heard a car door slam. My blood froze. She was back. Too soon. I ripped the flash drive out, shoved the laptop closed, and ducked behind the desk just as the office door swung open. I could see her shoes, her expensive heels tapping impatiently. She grabbed her purse off the chair and left, not even glancing at the laptop. I stayed hidden for 10 minutes, my heart threatening to beat its way out of my chest. Close. Too close. The next morning, I walked into the FBI field office and handed Agent Cordelia Jang the flash drive. "I believe this is what you were looking for," I said. Agent Jang looked at me, a small, impressed smile on her face. Mrs. Belmore, she said, let's go get your restaurant back. The morning of the restaurant expo, the air in Belmore Bistro was electric with excitement. Delaney was directing staff, barking orders, a queen in her castle. My son, Cal, was tasting a sauce, oblivious. They were scheduled to leave for Boston at 11 a.m. At 10:45 a.m. I walked in. I wasn't alone. Agent Zhang and another agent, both in sharp suits, walked in behind me. The bustling restaurant went silent. Delaney saw me first. Her face, a mask of annoyance, slowly crumbled into confusion, then dawning horror as she saw the agents. "Delaney Henderson?" Agent Zhang said, her voice calm but carrying absolute authority. "You're under arrest for 12 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit fraud." My son dropped his spoon. It clattered on the floor. "What? What are you talking about?" Delaney's face went white. She looked from the agents to me, her eyes filled with a pure, unadulterated hatred that chilled me to the bone. As they put her in handcuffs, she didn't struggle. She just stared at me. That's when she said it. The line that proved this was far from over. "You think this is over?" she sneered. "Ask your son about the insurance policy. Ask him what happens if you have an accident." The room was spinning. My son was pale, stammering, I don't know what she's talking about." But his eyes wouldn't meet mine. He was lying. The FBI took them both for questioning. I sat in the empty restaurant, the silence deafening. A few hours later, Agent Zhang returned. "He cracked," she said, sitting across from me. "Cal wasn't in on the franchise scheme. He had no idea. But the rest of it, pushing you out, siphoning the money, he was complicit." She paused. "And the insurance policy. It's real. A $2 million life insurance policy on you, Marguerite. Delaney took it out a year ago. Cal knew about it. He's been paying the premiums from the bistro's account. He claimed he thought it was just estate planning. But then came the twist even I didn't see coming. The investigation expanded," Zhang continued. "We searched a storage unit Delaney rented. We found more than just files. We found detailed plans, blueprints of your apartment building, notes on your daily schedule, and emails with a private investigator she hired to follow you." My breath hitched. But the most disturbing thing we found was a series of cash withdrawals, large sums, and records of a meeting. She was planning to hire someone, Marguerite, to stage an accident, a fall down the stairs, a car problem, something that would look tragic, but not suspicious. The room tilted. She hadn't just wanted my money. She wanted me gone. For good. You know that moment when the truth is so much worse than you ever imagined? That's where we were. And I'm not going to lie, knowing that she was caught, that her evil plan failed. It felt better than I could ever say. Tell me in the comments. Is it wrong to feel relief, even joy, at someone else's downfall when they planned to harm you? Because I don't feel guilty. Not one bit. But there was one more piece. The person she had hired the private investigator through. The accomplice who helped her find someone to plan the accident. The accomplice wasn't just complicit, Agent Zhang said, her face grim. He was family. It wasn't Cal. It was the last person I ever expected. My late husband's brother. My own brother-in-law, who had been secretly bitter for years that I had inherited the family diner instead of him. He had helped Delaney plan my murder, all for a cut of the insurance money. The betrayal was absolute, complete, and it came from every direction. The trial was a local media sensation. The bistro betrayal, one paper called it. Delaney, my brother-in-law, and even my son faced charges. Delaney was the star, of course. She was convicted on all counts of wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to solicit murder. She was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. 25 years. My brother-in-law got 10 years for his role as an accomplice. And my son, Cal, he took a plea deal. For his cooperation and his testimony against Delaney, he was charged with felony financial elder abuse and served 18 months in a low-security facility. He lost his culinary license. He lost everything. The day the verdicts came in, I didn't go to the courthouse. I went to the bistro. The court had restored full ownership to me immediately. I walked through the empty dining room, touching the tables, and I cried. Not sad tears, not happy tears. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. The weight I'd been carrying for years just lifted. Outside, a reporter asked me what I wanted other seniors to know. I looked right into the camera. That you're not crazy, I said. That you're not the problem. And it is never, ever too late to fight for yourself. While their lives fell apart, mine came back together. Delaney's carefully curated world of socialite friends vanished overnight. Her name became synonymous with greed and evil in our small state. She filed for bankruptcy from prison. My son wrote me letters, pages and pages of apologies. I'm sorry, Mum. I was weak. I let her manipulate me. I was so desperate for independence, I betrayed the only person who ever truly supported me. I read them, and I put them in a drawer. Was I ready to forgive him? No, not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. Love doesn't mean you have to accept poison. It means you have to respect yourself enough to stop drinking it. The bistro, I couldn't keep it. The memories were too tainted. I sold it 6 months later to a young, ambitious chef. I used the money to start a small foundation that provides free legal aid to victims of elder financial abuse. My pain became my purpose. And my grandchildren? Custody reverted to my son upon his release. But the court mandated family therapy for all of us. It's a long, slow road. But when my granddaughter Sophie hugs me now, it feels real, untainted. And that's a start. 6 months after the trial, I hosted Thanksgiving in my little apartment. Just me, Bridger, and his wife, Adelaide Thorne, and a few old friends who had stood by me. My son wasn't there. It was his first holiday out of prison, but we both knew it was too soon. But he did send something, a pumpkin pie, delivered from a local bakery. On the box was a small, handwritten note. I know it's not your recipe, but I'm trying. I love you, Mum. The house, my apartment, is filled with the right people now. People who respect me, who love me without an agenda. We play cards and tell stories and laugh until our sides hurt. No walking on eggshells, no forced smiles, just life, the way it's supposed to be. I started painting again, a hobby I'd given up 50 years ago. Watercolors of the Maine coast, sunrises, my grandchildren's faces from photographs. It felt good to create something beautiful out of a life that had been so ugly for a while. Remember when I said every morning I woke up wondering how much longer I could take it? Now I wake up, and the first thing I feel is gratitude. I'm still here. I survived. I'm not going to tell you what to do if you're in my shoes. I'm just a grandmother who got pushed too far and decided to push back. But I learned a few things. I learned that kindness without boundaries is self-destruction. I learned that keeping the peace is often just another way of saying you're swallowing poison so someone else can be comfortable. And I learned that family is supposed to be your safe harbor, not the storm. My mother used to say you can't pour from an empty cup. For years, my cup was bone dry, and they were still demanding more. Now, I keep my cup full. For me. And if that makes me selfish in some people's eyes, then so be it. I would rather be selfish and whole than generous and destroyed. Before I go, I need to say this. Names and places in this story have been changed to protect everyone's privacy. I'm sharing this because I wish someone had shared their story with me when I thought I was alone, when I thought I was crazy. If my story helps even one person recognize the red flags of abuse and find the courage to get help, then it was worth it. So here's my last question for you. If you were in my place, would you have done the same thing? Is there a path to forgiveness for my son? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me your story if you feel comfortable. I think we heal by sharing, by knowing we are not alone in our battles. And if you're going through something like this, please know it is not your fault. You are not imagining it. You deserve better. Get help. Talk to someone. Document everything. And when you're ready, fight back. Because your peace matters. Your life matters. Thank you for listening. Stay strong. Stay safe. And never ever let anyone convince you that you are worth less than everything. Before you go, one last thing. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in justice. Ring the bell so you don't miss an update. And drop a comment with the word survivor if you've overcome something that was meant to break you. I want to see how many of us there are. I have a feeling it's more than we think. This is our community. These are our stories. And together, we're unbreakable.